So, Kip, when we last spoke at C2C in Dublin in March of last year, you told me that plans were in the works for you to come back to Belfast. And true to your word, you're playing the Botanic Gardens in the city on the 27th of
Yeah.
May, a big outdoor show. You've spoken to me before about, you know, how much you enjoyed the last time you were in Belfast. You played the Ulster Hall in 2019, and you've spoken about the audience being so present and in the moment with you. So you must be buzzing to be coming back. This time you're playing outdoor, and there's going to be 5,000 people going nuts.
Yeah, it's pretty surreal, Stuart. I was at a radio station here in South Africa recently, and the shows here have just been insane. I mean, they've been so amazing, but they were asking me, you know, what my favorite place was to play. And I said, are you asking me venue, or are you asking me what group of people that I enjoy playing in front of the most? And Belfast was the first place that came to mind. So I said Belfast, I said Montana. There's a handful of places, but that place is that Belfast is dear to our heart. So we are super stoked to be coming back.
Class, class. Now, the Saturday before the Belfast show, you're playing the very famous Royal Albert Hall in London. Morgan Wade, Jackson Dean, Stephen Wilson Jr., they're also on the bill. I mean, it's a venue with such a rich musical history, and it's really a testament to your talent, your hard work, your consistent effort in coming back and building the fan base that, you can come into London and play the Royal Albert Hall. I couldn't name you many country singers that could do that.
Yeah, I think there's only been one other to headline Royal Albert, and I think that was Casey.
Yeah.
So that's my all-time bucket list venue to play. So I'm getting to check off my ultimate bucket list venue.
Wow. Now, I mentioned Morgan Wade there, and she obviously featured on a version of your song If I Was
Yeah.
Your Lover, which you wrote with Matt Bubel. I love that song. Tell me a bit about how it came together and how Morgan became involved in it.
Yeah, that song came together in a super organic way. It was in the early stages of lockdown. I would say it was the second week of March when everything got locked down, and I would say this was June when Matt called me up and just said he was really itching to make some music and kind of going a little stir crazy. So I invited him to my house, and we set up a studio inside the house, and Matt started playing that opening. Dun, 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 started playing that on the keys, and I just immediately spit that chorus out, in a matter of a couple seconds, and we just started right from there. We started from the chorus and wrote backwards, and kind of wrote all through the night. So that was a pretty awesome organic write, and that's the way that I enjoy writing the most.
Yeah. Now, you've just put out a great song. It's very rocky. It's built for the stage, a song called Kinda Bar.
Yeah.
I noticed you wrote this with your good buddy, Dan Couch.
Mhm.
Tell me a bit about this one. Because yeah, that's what I'm saying. I can visualize the crowd in Belfast losing their minds to this.
Yeah, kind of bar is one of those things where I'll just be straight up. Most of this record that's coming out is there is a lot of deep digging lyrically throughout the record coming. It's a very
Introspective.
self introspective, self analytical record. And it's a deep record, and kind of bar is pretty much the only one on the whole thing that's just kind of, it was simply me and Dan Couch riding by this old water hole. And we just both said, man, boy, it looks like there's some cold beer in that place. And then he just said, that's my kind of bar. And then I immediately started singing the chorus. And so that was all like tongue in cheek for fun. There was nothing meant to be groundbreaking about it. A lot like Truck. Truck was just a good time, right? I wasn't trying to say anything super thought provoking. It was just a fun jam, and that's what we did with Kind of Bar.
So the new album's called Damn Love. It's coming on the 28th of April. Tell me about the title track. It's got that
Well,
it's almost got like a U2 feel to it.
Yeah, I think you can get a lot of those elements throughout this record once you get it. I think there's Stu, that there's been a lot of rock and roll throughout my whole career. I think that bleeds through my veins for sure, and it comes out in the music. But I think you're going to get a lot of those elements on this record, and I think that the title track was just more of, it kind of encompassed what the whole record was about, and I think that there's a reason that love is written about as much as it is, because I think that it is the the epicenter of what we're all wanting to give and receive, and I think that that's why that's such a it is such a can be such a euphoric thing in your life, and it can also be such a devastating thing in your life. And I think it's, that's why it's so important, because it makes us feel so powerful one way or the other. And I think that there's just a lot of that, the search of of myself throughout this record, what I'm going to need, what I'm going to want, if I'm even capable of giving that, and the kind that I would like to give, and receive. So I think that there's just, I just think that that word is so powerful, and that's where the damn love comes, because it is so gripping.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tell me about I love this story that you were in Alaska and you were in your trailer playing a song on the guitar, and Ashley McBryde pops in, puts her hand on the head of the guitar, asks if she can sing that with you, and now this is a collaboration on the album, a song called One Heartbeat.
Yeah, it's a song that I wrote solo in Maui. I wrote a lot of this record in Maui, but it was one of those things where I think the world of Ashley as a person, as an artist. And we were doing some gigs together in Alaska, and we were both just kind of jamming in this trailer. And she asked me to play her something that I'd written recently, and so I started playing One Heartbeat. And after the first chorus, she was just like, "Can I sing on this with you?" And I was, I absolutely, you can. So it was just, that whole thing was a very organic thing too that happened. It wasn't like a really me seeking Ashley out, but that's who I would have wanted to sing on it. So it was perfect.
Now, you've co-produced this album with Jaron Johnson of the Cadillac Three. Tell me a bit about that collaborative process, because he's an interesting character. I mean, like yourself, extremely talented. Track record speaks for itself. And you both seem to be on the exact same wavelength.
Yeah, Jaron. We got separated at birth, I think. I love that guy so much, and he was such a joy to do this record with. I think we'll do more in the future. I just really enjoyed the process with him. What a creative guy. And he was so good at helping me stretch certain things melodically. And he really, we really searched for a lot of interesting sounds, and he worked his butt off on this thing. So it was, to me, it was a perfect collaboration. We both love so many of the same records. We both were influenced so much by rock and roll, but then we loved so many of the elements of country, and I've loved the lyrical aspect of country for the longest time, and I feel like I've always kind of leaned a little more on rock and roll melodies. I feel like I've gravitated to those country lyrics, but I've leaned on rock and roll melodies because I've always liked to jump octaves and do crazy things like that. So he gets that about me, and he's not scared to go there with me.
What comes first for you? Is it lyrics or music, or does it depend?
Man, Stu, it's all different. I will say this record, I definitely wrote a little different, I feel like, than most. I think about probably 75% of this record, at least the first half of the song was born with 10 of the tracks was born from me. A lot of times I'll have like a line in my head, or I'll have a little melody, or I have a little guitar riff, and then I kind of put that down, and then I try to see what that's saying to me. But so much of this record showed itself to me as a full composition, where I could hear the verse, chorus, bridge, melody all at the same time. I could hear all the counter melodies happening musically. I could hear the whole body of work. So I would write in one whole scene with no instruments, usually just walking around the streets without a guitar or whatever. Wrote one of them walking through downtown Park City, wrote a song called Another Night in Knoxville, which is one of my favorites ever. But the first thing I was hearing was the I wrote it all around this piano riff. I kept hearing, and then I'd hear a guitar piece come in on a counter melody, and then I would sing out the drum part. And so it was just kind of putting it all together right there on the spot. And then I would go back and learn how to play the certain parts, and then you could communicate better with a band in a room.
Okay. So you touched on it earlier. You've just played some shows in Australia. I love that photograph of you on stage, drinking the beer out of the boot. I think it's called a shoey. It's such a
Yeah,
class image.
yeah, yeah,
And you've been playing some shows where you are at the minute, South Africa. I know you just did a huge stadium show in Pretoria. I mean,
yeah.
did you ever think your music would travel this far?
I hoped.
Yeah.
Um, it was definitely something that I put out into the universe. But I mean, obviously, I'm blown away too. I had no idea that there was such the fans had latched on to my record so tight here. It's really a special thing. It is truly just, I got really fortunate. There was a guy that owned a radio station here that nobody is above him. That's the beauty of it. He's not controlled by anyone, so he could play whatever he wants. And he started playing my deep B-sides. He started, Heart's Desire was the first one he played here, which is an album track on Wild Ones, and it's the biggest song here.
Wow.
It's this mega famous song here, and I had no clue. Songs like that, songs like Hey Old Lover, Guitar Man, he started playing this B-side tracks with all the meat on the bone. And he's the one that has created this whole thing here. So it's a really, really cool thing.
It shows you, like, there's so much emphasis these days on streaming, but radio's still extremely powerful, isn't it?
Yeah, it's still super powerful. And I think that also when fans know that they can tune in to a station and you never know what's going to be played, in the sense of it's not the same playlist every day. And I think that there's a discovery. The fans feel a sense that they can discover stuff. So I think that's what was cool about it, because the guy was, like I said, he's playing B-sides. He's not even playing, like the songs that are big for me everywhere else. Some of those aren't even big here. It's just a bunch of B-side tracks that I have.
Can I ask you about a song on the last album, Wild World, which I keep going back to, Fire and Flame? So you wrote this with Carrie Barlow, Brett James, and Will Weatherly. And I believe this is a song that you talked a bit about your writing process, which I find fascinating. It's almost like the music flows through you. But I believe this one came to you in a dream.
Yeah, I've had a few that come to me in a dream. Janie Blue, Fire and Flame, Crazy One More Time, and Heart's Desire. I would say those are the ones that I've had a lot come to me in dream form, but they turn into vapor before I can really remember them. But Fire and Flame was one that I woke up hearing the opening riff and the opening melody and the few verses, and then I was trying to piece together the chorus as it came.
Wow. Okay. So I mentioned Brett James because about 5 years ago, he came to Belfast to play this CMA songwriters event with Natalie Hemby and Nicole Gallion. And after he was putting his guitar away in the case, and I had a few drinks, I had enough courage to go over and speak to him. And he was kind of surprised that I wanted to talk about you. He was more like, do you not want to talk about Carrie Underwood or Kenny Chesney? And I love that. But we were talking about you, and he referred to you as like his younger brother. Tell me about, because he would have obviously produced your first album and co-produced the second with Chris DiStefano. How important was he in the early days in making things happen for you?
Brett was everything. I say it all the time. Brett's the reason that I'm sitting here talking to you. I
Mm.
really believe that. I was kind of at the end of my rope. Um, it's a battle and a fight to stay in Nashville when you're really, you head and you can't seem to make way and you can't break through the wall. And Brett was someone that heard me play a few songs in a songwriter round and got me over to his house and just flat out told me, he says, I think you're a star and I think you got a unique way of saying things and I want to help you hone that craft. And I think we can reach the mountaintop together. And I signed, a publishing deal with him and just, yeah, I love that guy so much. I mean, he really stuck his neck out for me. And even when people were like, nah, it's too rock and roll, it's too this, it's too that, he just kept saying, we're going to ride this train until we, get to where we're going. So he stuck with me. And yeah, I owe everything to Brett.
I recently went back to your very first album, and there's what, like 11 years ago now, so there's a noticeable difference in the sound of your voice.
Yeah,
And it's
it's
funny,
got strong.
This is what I'm going to say to you. It's like there's so many singers where the voice gets weaker, maybe a bit of wear and tear, but yours has got, it's like a muscle. It's got stronger and there's so much character in there. Have you always looked after it or is it just luck?
No, I got to be honest. I don't do anything for it. But I do sing 2.5 hour shows, which I would think would wear it down. But Stu, I'll be honest, man. I don't. It's interesting how this makes some people uncomfortable. Because I certainly don't mean it to be that way, but um, that is something that I've prayed about a lot, and I believe a lot of that is a divine intervention for me. That's just how I feel. I've just prayed to, make it as strong as it can be and hold it up through all these shows that I do because I've just been headlining for the last 4 years. So but even my engineer that's done all my records, except the first one, he's got files up from all the records, and you can now see the width in your files when you're singing. And he turned around after I finished this last record that you haven't heard yet, but you'll hear soon. He just said, I've never seen this. I've never seen a voice this far into it get this much stronger. The takes of the width of my vocal tracks are so much bigger than they used to be. And they're even bigger on this new one than they were on the Wild World record, which I felt like I was singing the best I'd ever sang at that point. But I definitely feel like I've got another gear now. I mean, I'm singing in keys that like that I was never able to sing in before. My range has gotten even higher.
When it comes to listening to music in your own personal time, who out there today, makes you want to push, and who do you enjoy listening to, or do you find yourself listening to older stuff more?
I love no, no, no. I love a lot of old stuff, obviously, but I listen to a lot of War on Drugs, Tame Impala. I love Sam Fender. I love what that guy's doing. I really enjoy his records. He's somebody that I'd want to do some shows with at some point. And I never say that. I never ever say that, but I would enjoy doing some shows with that guy.
Wow. Listen, Kip, I appreciate you giving me some time. And, I can't tell you how much excitement and anticipation there is out there for this return to Belfast, and obviously for us to get our ears on the new record coming on the 28th of April.
Thank you.